You know, so many people say, don't they, we're one family. Everybody's my brother and sister. And sometimes I say, well, some days. But actually, it's not really true. We're all joined. There's no doubt about that. But some people are really not your brother or your sister. And I'm not just talking biologically. Some people are on a really different wavelength these days. And although we can still be kind and courteous and all those great things that we're encouraged to be, it's very important that you know where you are and you can tell where other people are as well, especially in your family. Because with bonds of affection, you can sometimes be overly influenced by emotions or histories or memories. We all know how we can get overly sentimental sometimes about the ways we think things should be, but they're actually not. Our families are a really good place, almost like a training ground, actually, for finding out who we really are. And at root, although we all have this source connection and ability to answer to purity, it's also true that some people are a lot more aligned with that and a lot more conscious of it than others. And a lot of the time, our family members are really not on the same page with us at all. In the last few years, unfortunately, it's been a very, very painful experience to realize that even more than we thought, our families perhaps are only families in name only. And we may have been excluded from contact with some of our family members by our family members ourselves, and they haven't needed any help from our governments at all. What is that? Sometimes it's temporary and sometimes it's more systemic. Some of our family members do answer to other things other than just purity. And in some cases, there's not much of that purity thing going on at all. These are very difficult things to cope with. And if we go down the route of therapy, the law, good, long, strong conversations and all that kind of thing. Of course, these things are very helpful and sometimes we need to. But if we use them as our starting point, it's not going to go very far before we're back full circle, still with this feeling that there's an essential difference or we might be on another path, even if there's a bit of progress. We are sometimes on a different path to other people, and we are sometimes operating at a different frequency. That doesn't matter, that it doesn't mean that we're better than them and that they're worse than us. Certainly not. It just means it's different. And if you look in nature, between species and even within species, it can sometimes be very different, even though there's sameness. And the human being can find this very, very frightening. If someone who we're emotionally close to, who we've known all our lives, suddenly appears to us to not only be acting very differently, but we suddenly realize that they really are a lot more different than we thought. We tend to associate sameness, and particularly the same blood, apparently, as being something that should deliver a sense of warmth and security and maybe a more protective layer around us, even though there may be a few differences. When we go deeper into realizing, oh, that person really did exclude me from seeing my sister, niece, nephew, grandchild, we're talking about something very, very different. It's not very peace and love. How do we deal with this? Well, these times have been amazing, actually, in really helping us to examine this question, right? And we can only go back into our own source connection to find the peace underneath all of this. which may mend some of the major differences and put things back in place for us individually. No amount of theorizing, strategizing, therapizing, or going to therapy is going to fix someone else's frequency unless we give up this urge to try and fix and change others, and instead go back into our natural ability to go direct to purity, to be still, to dream, to use our specific focus, harness our family energy, and then let purity take over. Then, if we go to therapy or we have a good chat with someone, something else can definitely, possibly change or happen that is very positive, because purity has walked in through the door as us and with us. It works through us. When we take on a lot of these more regimented techniques or associated patterns and ways of being that come through modalities and approaches, they can be successful, but they often effect a divorce from what really brings the essential change in the first place. Nature and purity is what changes things. And we need to anchor that and then focus it a bit like a calibration into our natural ability to purify. And then nature can direct this reality because we have rooted and landed it here. This is a type of modeling. I used that word a little while ago. Modeling is essentially about being still and marinating in that positive dreaming that's going on in you as a result sometimes of extreme distress. If we stay there and we include through the difficulty that positive dreaming aspect that comes up, then everything can flip over and we can make actions after that which are in alignment with purity and not just a reaction to the problem, which will always be on a very different frequency.